me turn this down or off, I should say. Hmm. Very interesting. Well, okay. So anyway, my purpose for doing this live, for the record, is simply to sign off, actually, or at least give a conclusion because my cat stepped on the power button and shut my computer down. So that's why, the abrupt disconnection. So all this is really to do is to sort of draw a conclusion because, um, well, that probably was a good time to pause or stop for the night. But I did want to say a few words that I didn't get to say as a result of the power outage or the power shutdown or whatever. Um, and that is basically, let's see here. I was making sure that everything is, how about the sound? Testing one, two. Yep, the sound's there. Okay. Anyway, uh, basically, I just wanted to express that I know that there are brothers and sisters who intend or who are planning to travel to Louisville, Kentucky for the matters taking place there, and I want to make sure that everyone that intends to take on the journey travels safely. Um, I would recommend to make sure that your family, that those loved ones or whatnot, um, that you let them know and get everybody on the same page, so that way you're not how can I put it? That way you got each other's back. You understand? Like I said, these type of ventures, these type of elements or experiences, you want to make sure that you got that you do things in a mindful sense. You understand? Um, and the idea is to drive at the best results, to get the best the best results of your intentions of your efforts. Um, so like I said, that's just a bit of admonition, and that's all I was trying to do at the live I had the other day was just put a little bit of admonition out there, uh, to be mindful as you journey. You understand? To be mindful as you go. Um, oh, let's see here. The other thing was to salute. Wow, I wonder why this is so. Can I do that? Yeah, I can. Okay. My glasses, because the image is so big, it makes my glasses look like you could just see the whole computer screen on my glasses. That's enormous. Because I got this big computer screen right here, so it's just enormous right here. Just the computer screen itself. Then not only that, but it reflects, so it's like an image within an image. It's weird. Um, let's see here. That makes it bigger, and that does that. Anyway, family. I just wanted to make sure, I went out with, an actual, proper way. Um, it's weird because literally as I was talking and I think I was saying to the family, my cat was down here where, the power outlets and stuff are at. And the irony, I mean, just imagine what are the chances, of the cat just Paul just happened to step on the power button. right when, if you, I think that if I look at the time of that live, hold on, I want to see how long that live was. How long was that live? If I look at the timing of that live, uh, I mean, how long that live went, the duration I'm talking about. Let's see. That was an hour and 35 minutes, so literally an hour and a half. And the funny part about that is because I was actually thinking of drawing the live to conclusion. I was looking at the clock and I was like, "Whoa, an hour and a half has passed by." And just around that time, the cat shows up and pawns the power button. I mean, cat's meowing. My cat, she's in heat right now, so she's meowing and stuff like cats do. And just happened to come over and step on the power button. Just just what I'm thinking of signing off of the live talk. Um, the thing I was trying to express to the viewers that I may not have gotten the complete my statement, simply to realize that you know um, there are those of us who genuinely care about our people. You understand? Who um, who how can I put it? When we say you're in our prayers, it's meaningfully said. You understand? That genuinely thinking about the well-being of our brothers and sisters. And like I said, many of us, we put ourselves in a position to where I'm not here to explore what you believe or what truths you adhere to, but I'm here to find where we have common ground. You understand? Find where we're in agreement and that our primary cause is one and the same. You understand? What we're striving for is one and the same. Um, but know that there are people out in the world that genuinely care, that genuinely um, want a good outcome in the lives of one another. Um, and that that the I that we I don't want to see any of us fail in any noble endeavor that you embark upon, but that you succeed um, in the world, not of the world. You have to consider, like, look, you have to live your life, and you have to, drive at the fullest of what your purpose is, what your goals are. No one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to do your task on your behalf. And no one else is going to see the same value in it that you might see. You understand? It's like to say it's like this. If you're going to build a house, make sure that you find good foundation and that you find the sturdiest material to build it with, and keep on building it, even if you die in the process of trying to complete it. You know, but you died in effort to complete what you set out for. That's I'm hoping that's understood. Or that you're able to take on meaning out of what I'm saying. May not be the best speaker. I don't sit here declaring to be to you some kind of scholar or some type of you know uh, uh, somebody that knows anything or something like that. You know what I mean? Um, just your brother trying to spread a word of love, a message of peace, something of that nature. Mercy. These are things that I hold fast to. And I believe that we get more with these tools than any other kind of tools that may be out there. Um, and all the tools that we have at our disposal are necessary in these days and age. But when it comes to those amongst us who are noticeably upon the same cause, we have to approach that matter with more mercy. I think that when we come at each other harshly, or in a conflicting way, that we push each other away rather than unify. You understand? We push each other away, and people who are striving for the same cause, that's not what you do. You don't push them away and cause more friction, more rifts than um you would from people who don't agree with any of this at all. You understand? Um, for them, it would make sense, you know, to feel some kind of way. But for people who are striving on a common accord, then that's not. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me that we approach one another with compassion, because that's what I strive to do. I understand, like I said, brothers and sisters have varying opinions, varying views, and so often I don't always say things in a way that I might say to someone who has similar ideas that I have. You understand? If I know that someone has similar ideas, I may open up in a way that connects with that person, because we have similar principles. It makes sense. We could speak the same language, the same style, if you would. But when I'm encountering people that I know we don't have the same viewpoints, but our bottom line is the same. You understand? Our struggle, um, our struggle for the cause is the same. Our approach may not be entirely the same, but the fact that we see this as what to strive for. um, Sometimes we have to communicate in a way that's very, very neutral, and it's not easy, because folks want you to see their view. They want you to perceive things the way they perceive it, and when you don't, it's like, no matter what you say, you're wrong. You're not, um, you know, you're no longer good in their eyes, or whatever the case may be. It is what it is. But I just think that we need to have a better regard for one another than what we do in our communities. And we really need to understand just how different our perspectives are. And even as we're communicating, what we hear from each other, what we say to each other is received differently, heard differently, and we could talk to her blue in the face. You understand? If our communications aren't synchronized, there's not going to be any understanding. You understand? So at the end of the day, if there can be any understanding whatsoever, it should be on the bare elements that we agree upon, nothing more, nothing less. If we can grow more, okay, fine. If it's there, it's fine. But if it's not, then that's where we have to leave it. But there should never, one of the principles that I stand on is not severing the ties of kinship. Um, Especially when the hearts are are eager to unify. You understand? Um, you sever the ties. If you sever the ties, first of all, that's contrary to divine wisdom. But if they cut their ties with you, then that's on them. There's no um, harm done by you. That's on them if they cut ties from you. But you shouldn't do the same. You shouldn't cut the ties with them. And that's how I strive to be. So you know, you're not going to find, if you come to, if you listen to these, like, you're not going to find me per se dumping and hating on anyone like that, of my own. in these lives. So I always say that people come expecting for me to down someone or something like that is not going to happen on these lives, because that's not, you know, I don't find that useful here doing this. You know, those type of things. I think they're best. I hear my cat. My cat's at the top of the steps right now. You already shut off my computer once. Um, it's funny because my cat's looking at me at the top of the steps, like, "Oh, you're still on that computer? I thought I shut that off. You still talking on that computer?" Anyway, um, I just think that we need to be more compassionate to one another, really, and give each other the benefit of the doubt that we're going to have different perspectives. And what that means is that even though you have what you stand upon, and these are your principles and ideas of truths, or whatever the case may be, however you want to word that, there's going to be someone somewhere, somehow amongst us that completely disagrees, or maybe in some part, but n- it doesn't. I don't think we benefit if we try to dictate what someone else's perspectives are, or try to dictate how they should think or how they should perceive things according to someone else's perspectives. Um, if they want, if they're open to that, fine. You understand? If you're open to what I'm upon, I'll build with you. We'll talk about it. We'll open the Quran. We'll do all kinds of stuff. If that's the cup of tea that person wants. But it's never. You're not going to find me forcing my position. Or the way that I'm upon you, um, against your will, or chopping you down or something like that against your will, in place, you know, well, it's my way or the highway type thing. I'm right, you're wrong, no matter what you say. I don't think that's the appropriate approach to go with anything. Especially, like I said, if we're dealing with people who, it's the point is clear that they are, that their bottom line is the same. You understand? Bottom line is the same cause. At least at the end of the day, that part you can agree. We can agree. Here we this element here, we all agree. This is what we want. This is what we aspire. Excuse me. We agree. But outside of that, it may get fuzzy. It may get, a bit gray, or what have you. Um, and we should be. I think we should be open to that. But not, if you don't accept my laws, or the laws that I perceive to be divine laws. You understand? I'm not going to hate on you because you don't accept what I think are principles, or what I think are laws, or what I might be able to show you in a book somewhere that, hey, see, this book says so. It can't. It doesn't work that way. Like I said, we've become a diverse people, and some things think about guidance, think about, you know certain things like that, is these things have to be taken in by the individual. You understand? They have to be taken in by the individual. The individual has to evaluate for themselves the authenticity of whatever it is, um they're dealing with. For me, uh what I'm upon appears to be authentic. And I've heard all kinds of issues and disagreements, but I haven't heard anything that makes me, perceive anything differently than what I'm perceiving at the present moment. And I can assume that that's the case for other people. When I hear them talk, I hear them speaking adamantly from the perspective of their position. Um, I mean, for example, I can easily say that, well, anybody who's not um accepting truth as people like me would, well, they're all going to be defeated, they're all going to hell, things like that. But how's that fair to people um who their words or what you hear or what you say they disagree with? Or it's not that they disagree with the truth, but rather your explanation of it. That's what they're disagreeing with. They're not disagreeing that the truth is the truth, etc., etc., but your explanation or your demonstration of it or your expression of it, whatever the case may be, however you want to put that there, that's what they disagree with. And I've encountered situations like that before, you know. But at the end of the day, the unity that is will be meaningful to us, it has to be a kind of unity that envelopes or encompasses the experiences that we've gone through and what that means. Otherwise it would be vain to even know anything at all. You let some people tell us it's not worth knowing anything if you're not knowing things, and your knowledge or your perspective is not narrowed down to a certain scope or view. um they you might be shunned by them, or cut off, or something of that nature. And anytime i anytime I encounter stuff like that, immediately that tells me that there's something off, at least for me. It may not be for them, it may be strong and solid for them. And I wouldn't try to discourage them from what they're upon, per se. I would simply say, for me, I don't find anything in this that that my soul, if you will, is able to harmonize with. um it may be wrong, it may be right. you know Ultimately, I think that, whatever the case may be, it would be clear to those concerned. It will be clear. It won't be something um that can be argued about with words. You understand? Because most of our arguments, most of the disagreements is words. People, the battle of words, battle of egos, the battle of wits, the battle of words. And for me, I think that I don't think that's what we need right now. You understand? I think that when it comes to our people, I'm talking about us that really makes it plain about unification and things of that nature. We need to be compassionate more than anything else. We need to be merciful more than anything else. And a lot of the things that may disturb us at the end of the day, I think, a lot of those things will come to the light about it. You understand? We'll get to where we need to be. But I think that mercy is our best approach. Our greatest tool would be mercy. Um, I mean, think about it. This is why one of the things that people get so frustrated about when it comes to our conversations between one another is differences of opinion, quote unquote, religious opinion, religious perspectives, or not being religious, or I'm not religious, or this isn't really, or this is, and you got all these things that are still in the same room. They're still in the same. The minute you mention God or whatever the case may be, it's still in the same room where um, differences of opinion, or just differences. It may not even be opinionated, just differences show surface, and people bump heads, people collide, they become angry with one another, they feud, tit for tat, all that kind of stuff, and we get nowhere. We don't get anywhere successful. We don't get anywhere that achieves anything meaningful. Um, so I think that's something that we as a people have to work on. You know, and even if one thing that I have experienced as that maybe that for me is problematic. You know, when people hold up the differences, you know, um, let's say you have a way that you're upon, I have a way that I'm upon, but the minute you reveal your way, I know more about your way than you do, and so I'm telling you not only about the way I'm upon, but your way too. I'm telling you, well, your way doesn't go that way. So how and it I'm just saying these things don't get anywhere. They don't get anywhere. They're literally the battle of words, because whatever's in the heart, often words aren't suitable to express it, to talk about it. Talk about these words in this language. They're not suitable. They're not they're not often able to qualify what you want to express. And so we end up stuck with, the collection of vocabulary that we have, and that's sometimes that gets us absolutely nowhere. Um, just back and forth. Anyway, um, I just wanted to get back on real quick. I didn't want to take too long, but like I said, I wanted to express my gratitude to everybody that's really trying to make a difference. If you feel motivated, you feel like you're doing stuff in the community, and you're out there, doing what you need to do. We need to show some. We need to have some type of appreciation for each other. You understand? Because for many brothers and sisters, it's not easy. Like one brother or one sister told me, some people, are barely making it, but yet they're willing to travel the miles, you understand, um, for a cause. Like I said, I know some people, they have opinions and disagreements about some of the events approaching, revolving around a brother. But what I'm thinking about when I look at this picture, like I said, not only am I thinking about the golden rule, but I'm thinking about the people going out of their way for something that they hold passionately to, a cause greater than themselves. And for me, there's signs in that. You understand? There's signs in that. It's bigger, like I keep saying to folks, it's bigger than any one individual. I'm looking at the spirit of energy that's coming out of people who, given any other circumstance or any other situation, they would stay at home or they would do something vain or whatever. But here you have a situation where people are willing to put aside whatever may have been important to them for something more that's bigger than them. That's other than uh, their own personal interests, their own personal concerns. To me, that's something that's commendable. I don't know what to say. That's something that's something that is noteworthy. Um, and instead of finding reasons to tear each other down, I think we will have more benefit in looking at the things that people are doing to lift one another up. The brothers supporting brother Ozone and Spite and whatnot. These things, these type of things should be. I mean, if we've got our brothers and sisters doing their media platforms. These are the things that should be on mainstream, broadcast. But of course, we know how that goes. We know that how that's controlled and things like that. But if anything, these should be words in the community. You understand? The community abroad should be knowing any effective, significant events going on within the black community should be common knowledge from here to overseas. It should be common knowledge that, hey, this brother did this. This brother, put boots on the ground, or this brother supported this brother who was locked up, or these people supported this sister, or these brothers and sisters stopped these particular things happening against this sister or this brother. We should be like that. It should be common knowledge. It should be, when something happens or goes down, it should spread like wildfire. I see things like, like I said, you go on IG and you'll see some things people are talking about, but it be in small circles. Even some of our YouTube lives or whatnot. Some of these just it'd be like isolated situation, small circles, and I just think that we need to, we need to really show more appreciation to those doing um, strong moves within our community. You know, and And like I said, we need to be more merciful to one another. I'm not talking about just anybody. I'm talking about those of us amongst our community who are out there trying to, make a difference and trying to, you know, you know, be, outstanding in character. For lack of better words, because if we don't lift our own people up, if we don't acknowledge the efforts of one another, who will? Who will make these brothers and sisters renowned? You understand? Who will make these brothers? Who will canonize the ventures of those doing good deeds and whatnot in the community? Who will canonize these things, or will they be just memories of the past that are forgotten, that nobody even knows about anymore? You know what I'm saying? I mean, even locally, I see things going around in the neighborhoods, communities doing stuff to help the neighborhood, but it'd be local situations. Like I said, we've really got to really dig into networking with one another. That's what the conscious camping was supposed to be about. That's what some of these gatherings and stuff were supposed to be about. Opportunities to broaden, to increase our networking with one another. Um, and yeah, I get it. I get that, many of us, we live all over the states. So some of us are miles and miles away from being able to really to do anything as often as they'd like. That's why moments like what's coming up is important because, as much as some people want to belittle what's happening, um, like I said, there's a bigger picture to look at. The effects upon people's hearts, the opportunities to unify, strengthen unity, network. You understand, and so on. Um, but like I said, we have to be willing to recognize our experiences, our diversity amongst one another. Um, I think we're too hard on one another. I think we're too hard on each other when it comes to people, our unification efforts. I think the people, if we were going to be hard on people, it would be people who are adamantly trying um, to destroy, any efforts of unity. Be hard on them. You know, um, I know some people they disagree with what I say. They said, some people like to take and horse around with my choice of words and things like that, and you know, I'm not the cleverest of person, so I may not always have the best retort or the best counter punch or whatever you want to call it. But what I do know or what I do know is is what's here, what's in me. You understand? And at the end of the day, that's all I have. Yeah. Because I say this to all the people who've had something to disagree with me about. For them, I have nothing but love and respect for. What's funny, what's interesting to me is, for me, I have love and respect for my brothers and sisters, whether they agree with me or not. And I've had people who disagree with me, and they cut me off or shut their back or turn their back or whatever. That's them. You know, I look like, really, this is what we've come to. You understand? All it takes is for a moment's disagreement, and it's like we're enemies or something. I'm like, how did we become in? I'm not in. I'm not. If you are upon, in general, the basic essence of the cause, how could you? For me, at least from my side, you're not going to find an enemy. You understand? You're not going to find an enemy. Um, Might not agree with my approach to things, or my mannerism to things or whatnot, but um, one thing you can guarantee is that what it was sincere. And my effort was to remain and keep it 100, as people are always boasting and bragging about. If I did anything else, then it would be artificial. You understand? If I took any other approach than what I do, I mean, I could just imagine if I got up on these lives and just had just whole hours where I'm just bashing people. People were like, "What? Questman did what?" Yeah, I'd be because you would know that that's not it. It's not what I do. You understand? It's not how I get down. So you would immediately know that something's amiss. Um, Now some people, they don't have no problem doing that. They don't have no problem being in attack mode and bash mode. No problem at all. But that's them. And that's why I'm saying that we have to realize how different we are as a people. We have to realize the nature of those differences. I'm not talking about the differences that are completely absurd, completely off course, like way, 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 you know, left field type thing. But I'm talking about the differences where it's just a matter of the course of our, what we've gathered growing up. And that's why I tell some people, I said, look, you know, when you tell me about, how long you've been learning, you should consider that the other person's also been learning just as long. What do they do with the results of their learning? Do I belittle you because you might not have learned a perspective that I've learned, or vice versa? Does that make you small? Does that make me big? And vice versa. I don't think the case is made there. Um, People are always going to talk in the language of their perspective, because the language of your perspective, you're going to talk with your truths, and you're going to speak of them as fact. Why would you do it any other way? Why would you speak to If you spoke to me, why would you speak to me if you thought your way, if you thought what you were upon was false? Why would you speak to me as if it was um, false and make it real, or whatever the case may be? You're going to speak with the voice of your position in life. You're going to speak with that voice, those words. Um, it's like I said, when I go to, like, I mean, put it this way: if you were to go and talk to a person like a Buddhist or something, do you think he's going to talk to you like a we'll say a Protestant or something like that? No, he's not a Protestant. So how would you know? He's going to speak his way. He's going to speak. I mean, he's not going to speak to you as if his way was false. You understand? Well, I don't know because I'm a Buddhist, but I don't really, you know, consider it true. So I'm going to speak as if nobody does that. People are going to speak to you with the voice of their truths. You understand? And it might not equate to what you've uh what you value as truths. It might not. At the end of the day, that's why one of the things we're taught is to find common ground and leave it there. Find the ground where um you're in sync. And in the majority of our cases that are even watching any of these lives at all, it's an ethnic unity. You understand? Ethnic unity. Some of us have broadened it to cultural unity. You understand? Um, and more and more and more, depending on what direction you want to go. But not everybody's on the same page. But one of the things we can be assured is that those people who are all upon this type of unity, um, there's certain things that we all across the board, may find agreement. You understand? We might find agreement. We use terms like coon and things like that when we clearly see that someone is not, not concerned with the unification of their people and speaking against the unity of their people. That's like a core golden rule of our people in a sense, that if you're going to say anything, you're going to make sure that you're not saying things that are against the idea of being unified as a people. You understand? So that would be something that anybody amongst us sitting at this table would be able to agree with, with no doubts. Now, for example, if somebody said, well, we need to establish divine law amongst ourselves, my foundation builds upon what we call Sharia. Okay, that's me, but that means divine law for me. Now, somebody else will say, no, that's false because of this, or that's false because of that. And then someone says, well, okay, well, this is false. Then what they come with, that's true. What they're with is true. What you're with is false. And here's certain things why. But somehow we got to realize that's not that simple. You understand? It's not that simple, regardless of the choices of words we want to use to defend our position, to right ourselves and wrong the other. Um, it's much bigger than that, you know, and that's why those big words like the voice of many waters and things like that resonate with me so much because they speak of a greater mind, a greater truth. You understand? Than the truths that we um, express amongst ourselves. They speak to something greater. A lot of times when we debate and feud amongst each other, I don't hear the voice of God in any of that. You understand? It's like immediately I hear venom, bite, snake bites and attacks out of those type of course of conversations. But when the things we speak unanimously about, that every every mindful black brother and sister speaks unanimously about, in that I hear a divine voice. And it's in that my support is upon. Okay. It doesn't mean that my manner of supporting is um proper for all involved. It just may not work for everybody. But from all I can work with is just like the only way I can see you is through my eyes. You understand? I can't see you through some other eyes. You understand? I can only look out of these eyes and see you with. I can only hear you with these ears. I can't hear you through someone else's ears. You understand? So likewise, I can only take on things based upon the scope of and tools that I have to work with. Well, that means, brother, you don't have enough. Well, maybe it does. Maybe it does mean I'm shallow in tools. Maybe it does mean I'm shallow in my understanding, or that I've. But I have to find that out. I have to um, become awakened to that. Well, brother, well, maybe I'm asleep. Maybe the case is. But an individual has to come to a point where they are able to gain those experiences from their journey. You understand? That's why I said we can all be in a room and just argue and argue and argue. And I don't know if you've ever seen any confusion like that before, but I have. Where people are just, I mean, just 20 people arguing, and no one drawing or reaching any conclusion. No one reaching any sound conclusion or making any real sense. All you hear is just argument and noise. You can't tell me that whatever they were talking about, even if the words themselves were of substance, the the messengers of those words, they're not matching the substance of what they're claiming to be as truthful. You understand? Um, if anything, the end game of any case should be, I mean, we're trying to express love for one another, appreciation for one another, spread peace amongst one another. Then the essence of whatever we're coming with should bear witness to that. If whatever we're coming with ends up being nothing but a bunch of headbutting, then I have to question not only myself but the other person, and what it is that we're putting there. What are we putting on this table that's causing us to do this? It doesn't mean that we need to submit to another. You understand? It also doesn't mean that this is a right or wrong situation. Well, okay, I'm going to humble myself. You're right. I'm wrong. Okay. If you have things you're solid upon, like I said, your truths, you have a right to stand on those. You understand? You have a right to stand on those, and you know to do otherwise. You would not be being 100, as people were always bragging about. You should be 100. Well, what do you mean by being 100? Being 100 according to what you think in your head, or being 100 according to me being solid upon what it is that I say I stand upon? You understand? What it is that I find within me, what it is that when I look out of my eyes and hear with my ears and think with my brain, you understand, and reflect from within, heart as we call it, what comes from that? And then when I make my actions and take my steps, what comes from that? What's moving? What's sponsoring that? I have to be the one that can connect with those truths and avoid doing otherwise, because that would be being fake. That would be lying to yourself. So it's complicated because, like I said earlier, in the other part of this, the other half of this live, it may mean you make enemies. You understand? You might not make any friends. You might lose those you thought were friends. People, because what do you do? And the funny part about it, one source, expresses like this: they won't stop hating you until you accept their way. If I say, okay, whatever truths is clear to me, I'm going to act like I don't see them, or act like I don't acknowledge them anymore, and take on what you're saying. You're right, I'm wrong. I'm going to take your what you're doing and abandon whatever I'm doing. That's just as hypocritical as anything else. Where's the real in that? Because that's not being real. You understand? Me rejecting the the uh the the voice, if you will, or the um I don't want to just use the word intuition alone, but me rejecting what's in me, what's in my heart, that would be being fake. Because then what am I bringing to you? What am I coming at you with? If I've rejected what's in my heart and I'm coming at you, what am I coming at you with? What kind of a person am I then? I'm just saying, these are things you've got to recognize, we've got to deal with, because you when if I ask you, let's say, I compel you through force, or I compel you through aggression, or compel you through belittling you, beating your mind down to see the world as I do, to see to identify the divine as I do. And if you don't, you're wrong, you're doomed, you're a fool, you're an idiot, whatever the case may be. Let's say you take on what I'm saying. Let's say you feel so beaten down that you abandon what's in your heart and you take on what I'm claiming. It wouldn't be real. It wouldn't be real because your heart isn't there, for one, right or wrong. Whether even if it was, let's say it was full circle 100% true, your heart isn't there, so it would never work. It would never be valid. You understand? It would never be, even because just because it sounds good to hear you say something that I agree with in my ear isn't going to make it any valid. Like, yeah, you're right. I'm doing the things you're saying that I should be doing because you say so, and I've abandoned what I was upon. It would not be valid. It would not be. It might appear to the eyes to be valid, but it's not valid. Like I said, the spirit of the law, the spirit of the law, not just the law itself, the spirit of the law. That's where that comes in. That's where that comes in. But at the same time, we have to be open to criticism. We have to be open to correction. You know, some of us, we're not open to correction. If we were in error, some of us are incapable of being notified about that error, because if you already are perceiving that what you are with is right unfailably, what else you've already reached the height of your journey. What else is there for? Why even exist anymore? You've already achieved your success, because you know everything about what is right. So what else is left what else is left for you to do here? That makes life vain, because there's no more room for development. There's no more room for elevation, for gaining more tools, more um capacity, more ability to do. You know, these are just reflections. I could be completely out of my mind saying what I'm saying. Maybe not. Am I convinced I am? No. Could it be ego? Could it be ego it could be. These are things that I have to evaluate for myself. Could it be spiritual? Could it be intuitive? Could be. These are things you have to measure for yourself. When it comes to the listener, you have to evaluate and measure it. Does it weigh out? Does it make sense? Does it add up to what you find within you? Obviously, if let's say, and I'm not saying that I'm righteous or not, but let's say I'm righteous and I'm talking to a person who's bent on corruption, then what I'm saying to them is going to be offensive every step of the way. Let's say I'm a corrupt person and a person speaking to me right, then everything is not going to is never going to work, because the disposition is not compatible. You understand? You want me to stop stealing. I'm saying, because of the life that I've allowed to embrace, becoming a thief, that stealing must be the way I go. So any words of yours telling me not to steal is going to be offensive to me, no matter how truthful they are. And they could be false at the same time. Isn't that something? Imagine, you telling a person not to steal, and you're teaching to them this is false. How so? One of the things that we accept as a principle is that if a person is compelled to steal in the first place, you need to find out, why are you doing this? In principle, you could say the act of stealing is wrong. This is why I say the spirit of the law, not just the law. The law, look, under the Sharia law, which is the divine law as we understand it. Divine law, you steal, you lose your hand. But it's not that simple. The ruler or the qadi or the judge has to evaluate the mentality of the criminal, the criminal. You know that old saying that should be the case here, but it's not always applied. Innocent until proven guilty. Okay, so part of proving him guilty or her guilty is you've got to evaluate the mindset of the person doing who did the act. So you steal, or why did you steal? Now, he's not just asking for the person just to give an answer, but he needs to really get an understanding of this person's mindset. Come to find out, the person's over his head in poverty, over, impoverished could have been his middle name, and he has a family in need. And it was either he gets this or they suffer more. And every other avenue that well, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he do these things? Maybe he did those things and those avenues were shut to him. You understand? I know this from my own experiences. I've met individuals who I can tell you up and down they would never get hired. They haven't the um they do not have the elements that many employers would look for as employable qualities. Nothing of their fault, nothing of that person man's fault, but because of his disabilities or certain qualities in his disabilities and the life that he's been subjected to, he's nobody's going to hire him. So what does he do? What do you do if you can't do the things that people? It's just look. I'm gonna just show you how hypocritical this is. What do they say when one of a black sister or black brother gets shot or get ruffled up by the police? What do they say? Oh, he should have complied. He should have complied. This is what they say. This is how hypocritical folks are. It really ticks me a little bit, a lot, because we don't take the time out to reflect. It's the same language. He should have complied. Maybe he did comply. Maybe he was scuffed up so much that he couldn't comply. It's kind of hard to comply when you got your arm twisted where it's about to pop out of its socket. It's kind of hard to comply when you can't even breathe, when you can't even think straight. You understand? It's kind of hard to do anything that would demonstrate whatever these complicities or whatever the case may be you're talking about. So the same thing goes with other aspects. When people are in compromised predicaments, normal doesn't exist anymore in their life. You're normal as you sit in your easy chair, sipping on your freshly brewed cup of coffee, or whatever the case may be, in the comfort of your bed, warmth of your blanket with the heat on. Some people don't have those benefits and they don't have the means to attain them. What happens when those things are removed from you? What happens when you're sitting in a room where it feels like it's 50 degrees? What happens? How are you going to behave then? Are you going to behave like the one who's in the warm and toasty house? Or are you going to behave a little bit more differently? That's what I'm saying. Put yourself in shoes of other people other than your own comfort zone for a chance, and then ask yourself, how are you going to be? We've got all these words to say, all these accusations. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. All the fingers to point, but we give very, very little regard. You understand, to the conditions, the experiences, and even the perspectives of each other and what we're going through. Somebody tells me they're in the hospital, they could be lying. I don't assume that they are. I assume that they are telling the truth. And all of my responses are, hey, I need to give them some type of, whatever I can offer that would help make their situation ease. Somebody could be saying that they need food, or you get somebody, I need food, I need money for food or something. It could be lying. But if I have the resources, you know if I have the resources, I would do what I can to try to find a way to benefit them. Their lie is on them. The lie is on them. And if they're telling the truth, then what? Imagine they were telling the truth, but to you, because of your ego, you whatever they said, it sounded like a lie because maybe they weren't verbally eloquent. You understand? Or maybe their character might appear to be something else, but they were 100% telling you the truth. You just didn't recognize it because he didn't speak in the way that you're accustomed to speaking to your own peers. And so you shut the door while boasting of being charitable. I'm just saying, family, it's a hard bargain. We need to show, you know, we need to show the good character in us regardless. We need to show what it means to the manifest mercy, righteousness regardless. You understand? That's why if someone, if someone is hospitalized, you're going to them not for your interest, but for theirs. You're going for their well-being. Just look out for them. One of our duties in our practice is that if someone is hospitalized or someone is sick or ill, you should take the time out to check on them. See, our sister earlier said she's in an emergency room. It's our duty to somehow make sure that we're in the know of her well-being. Many of these cases that we've encountered regarding brutalities and things like that, there should have been. I mean, there should have been so much knowing about these things. I mean, we should have been in. We should be in touch with each other more. We should be interconnected with each other more, so that whether something favorable happens to us or unfavorable, we can respond to it properly. What I'm thinking in my mind is some of these isolated situations where brothers and sisters encounter problems. Now, of course, everybody can't be everywhere. People have things to do, but we need to get into a better position to do what we can and to be able to respond in the way we can. I'm telling you, we are quick to be harsh and hard handed to our own people, but we are so soft and relaxed when it comes to our enemies. I mean, we want to give our enemies a big bear hug. That some of the people talk, but when it comes to people, we're ready to fight each other. We're ready to knock each other's heads off. Our own folks, but we don't even lift up a fist when it comes to our real enemies, our real opponents. We don't even want to lift up a fist. I mean, if that's not hypocritical, I don't know what is. As I said, we spend a lot of time and energy attacking one another and thinking of new ways to attack one another and thinking of reasons why to be suspicious of one another and doubt one another. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some dirty dudes out there. You understand? There are some crafty, sneaky people out there. But man, this is why we need a spiritual eye. This is why we need a real connection with one another spiritually, mentally. We really need a deeper bond, a deeper connection. You understand? When you have those type of connections, then the artificial start to become more transparent. You understand? We sit there and get at it with each other, and we end up in effect beating up mentally, physically, spiritually the wrong folks, and then we end up embracing the enemy. So it's I mean it's a challenge. It's a challenging world. But the thing about the people who are in this world and not of this world, it's like we're just passing through. You understand? Wherever we are and whatever we encounter, um, we operate accordingly. And it may seem strange to people who are comfortable in this world. You understand? Because for them, the laws or the truths are a bit different or appear a bit different. For them, the laws or the truths are more stationary. They're more, um, what do I want to say, uh, s- so that they can become comfortable in this life. They make justifications for the activities of this life. If thou shalt not steal or covet, well, in this situation it's okay because these people used to do it over here, or it's okay when this happens. Now all of a sudden law becomes uh, illegal things become validly legal or validated as something to do. That's what happens with the people of this world. But for the people who are not of this world, it's quite different. You understand? You know, in any given situation, first and foremost, it's the spirit of law that comes into effect. You understand? That comes into play. Where you might withdraw your hand to giving, but not because, you know, of per se you don't believe that the person's going to use the money the right way, or you don't think that the person is really hungry. You understand? But it may be for something else. The example I can give you is a person. I think it was Zachariah. Some of us know him as a prophet. In the case of Zachariah, somebody came and asked him for something, and he had to withdraw his hand, not because he wouldn't give. And in fact, some of the people looked at him like, "Oh, can you imagine that? You can imagine. I mean, just imagine people on the sideline waiting on the side for you to slip and miss a beat, and they're just looking like, oh, hold on, they're about to ask Zachariah for something here, and no, that's how they think about that. But he said that the reason why is because at that time, what provisions he had to go to the mouths of his own family. And or at no, I'm sorry, what provisions he had to go to the energy for his efforts to work, for his workability. If he gave what he had remaining, he would not be able to do whatever was essential for his work, and thus his family would suffer as a result. So if you know that the person is a charitable person, to come to that point just tells you how hard of a worker this person was, when he knew that if I gave this portion away, more people would suffer than not. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to pass you down this time. Maybe come back, another occasion. It might be a different situation. But that's what I'm saying. Look at the the heart or the position of upright people versus the position of people of this world. You understand? When we read the stories of people being compassionate in situations where the average person would flip the script. You understand? I mean, think about it. Imagine a person who has the skills of Bruce Lee, right? Just hem you up with but you come and you're kidding around, fooling around, and you grab them up like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey!" And instead of him flipping this wig at you, just disintegrating you right on the spot, he just looks at you and smiles, laughs along with you even. You understand? Think about what it takes to do that. Instead of him flipping out, allowing rage to build up inside and lashing back, knowing that he could just break this guy down to size, he doesn't. Understand what I'm saying? Understand what I'm saying? There's an easier road to travel. You understand? That's the way water flows, path of least resistance, and it ends up becoming the most forceful of elements. You understand? It'll wear down a mountain over time. So I'm, maybe this is some ramble or whatnot, but this is what's on the chest. Like I said, I build on my experiences. I build on things I go through in my life in a day-to-day time. And this was some of the most recent of things uh, I've encountered. But in this type of talk isn't to ridicule anybody, not pointing the finger at anybody or blaming anybody. It's not what I do. But I do reflect upon my experiences in the things, virtue or criticism or benefits or consequences that I you know, extract from these experiences. Um, because I think we have to take the moment to reflect on the things we go through. We have to, family. Um, because at the end of the day, my objective is for a greater success. And I'm not talking, while I would like to see success, I'd like to live, for example, you want a better lifestyle, better pay grade, a better, abode, things like that. Who wouldn't? But you know, those are those are there. You have a right to have an interest in a more comfortable life. Nobody wants to welcome hardship, but at the same time, you have to think of the bigger journey. You understand? You have to think of the bigger journey, the bigger goal. At the end of the day, what is it all worth? What is it all worth? You understand? I know, for example, based upon if I observe anything in existence, the protection of what you are is very important. Everything does this. A tree is doing this. A tree is doing whatever it can to make sure that its seeds have the best chance of carrying out the next generation of whatever that tree is. You understand? If it's got to put it in a hard shell, if it's got to put spikes around it, if it's got to put some a poisonous appearance or something, whatever it's got to do, that's what the plant will do. Animals the same way. You get yak that'll literally form a circle, pointing their horns out. You understand? Doing whatever it takes to make sure their young have a standing chance, so that the generations can keep on going. Everywhere you look, you see living protecting its own kind. So it's only in my nature to think like, hey, I see my people being brutalized, being oppressed, being attacked, being killed. You understand? And it's like, one zebra to another. No, I don't want my kind to be. I mean, like I said, I showed you. I think I wish I could find that video. Maybe I can somewhere. But the in the video, you saw one yak or buffalo. It might have been a buffalo. Being attacked by a lion. And just out of the bushes came this other buffalo and yoked him up with his horn, tossed him up, tossed the lioness up in the air, flipped her up, and I mean just gave her a hard way to go, and made sure the other buffalo got up and went off about their way. That's an animal, and we have the hardest time doing that for our own people. That's an animal that knows what to do. I mean, if that animal was one of us, he would have walked by, he would have saw that lioness attacked and like, oh man, you should have complied. You should have just listened. Oh man, it ain't that bad. Like, oh man, or they would do the Chris Tucker. You know how that saying goes, right? It's the smoky or whatever you call that quote, the smoky quote. Um, yeah, an animal, family. An animal knows how to protect it. Knows that regardless, this wasn't even a young buffalo. This was a fellow buffalo. that he came up out of the woodworks to protect a fellow buffalo, not a baby buffalo, a fellow buffalo. You understand? He was looking out for his own kind, period. But in our case, it's the exact reverse. Somehow we've been so heavily drenched and programmed into not protecting our own kind, but aiding and assisting in destroying our own kind. Go figure, right? That's a heck of a story to tell, isn't it? And one of the ways we do it is, like I said, we don't have any mercy or compassion, or little mercy and compassion for one another. We think the way to get across to one another is to beat it into our minds or bodies or whatever, just to I mean, this we oppress, we are oppressive, more oppressive to one another than anyone's ever been to us. That's what it seems like sometimes. We're more oppressive to one another than anyone else has ever been to us. And it's sad. It's sad. But it doesn't have to be that way. But like I said, there those of us who strive to be in this world but not of the world, like I said, our motives are different, our our objectives are different. Why we're even on the scene of any scene is different. You understand? It's all different. And so it may seem confusing to the people of this world. Why are they doing that way? Why, so this is this. If it's not this, if it's not like this, if it doesn't work this way, if it's not in this box, if it doesn't operate in this box, you're wrong. And you're all going to hell in a basket. That's how some people that's how some people perceive life. That is, you know, that it's think about this. One cell was you and manifested from being a single cell to being what you are today. You succeeded thus far. Some people have succeeded thus far with having no legs, some having no sight, no sound. What I'm saying to you, family, that if you observe, you see that many different kinds of people have come into existence successfully. So if on this level, even the most disfigured person exists, what about the next levels of existing? When it comes to what kinds of people are allowed to enter into the next levels of existing, it's not going to be based upon your interpretation of criteria. It's not going to be who you think is right or who you think is wrong, because the divine wisdom is greater than your little brain and my little brain. It's much greater. We say it all the time. God is greater. That being the case, the measuring tools are a bit more sophisticated, or a bit more um, beyond our scope of use. Like I said, we will see those of us that are of that, or that meet, that get past this phase of existence. Will see people who you did not think should belong successfully in that level. Let me translate. Those will see those entering into paradise, or entering into the kingdom, or entering into an abode of bliss, or a blissful stage of existence that you thought should not be there. You thought that they were amongst the inhabitants of torment, but yet you see them going into bliss. And yet people you thought were holy and great and mighty, headlong in the torment. Our minds, I mean, look, you know, just leave these matters in better hands. You understand? Better hands. You know, let the judge be judge. We do what we can, but realize that no matter how great our achievements may be, they hardly scratch the surface of what greatness means. No matter how learned we think we are, our degrees hardly amount to anything worth anything except the life of this world, perhaps, and that's even in degrees. In this world, not of the world, is what the title said. What degrees do we bear that will be useful in what's to come hereafter? What degrees do you have for that? What learning, what tools, what um, qualifications? I can guarantee you that much of the things that we utilize in this system will not be valid hereafter. We'll need to come up with a little bit more of what is in sync with that. And one of the key ingredients, one of the key components, I can tell you right now, is being able to manifest mercy and compassion, and not just applying law, but manifesting spirit of law, allowing you to know when to administer, how to measure law, how to apply law, mercy, compassion, harshness, all of these elements, they all have a part to play, but one doesn't overtake the other, especially when it's not called for, especially in its in a wrong measurement. That's why they had a problem with Messiah Yeshua. They had a problem with him because he wasn't on the script that they thought he should be on. They had this narrow scope of what they think is the law and how it should be administered, how it should be interpreted, how it should be presented amongst the people. And he was basically walking all over their water. Yeah, I have an admiration for people who, for the record, who go against the worldly grain. You understand? I have an admiration for those kind of people who are, I've had friends who would just go out there and just at the top of their lungs, just laugh. And just laugh. You know why they're laughing, but they saw something you see. But when you see their faces, it's not like like I said, it's not like a disdainful laugh. It's a joyful laugh. But they just do it. They just do it. They're not afraid. They're not concerned about opinions and feelings. Like I said, there's lines that you just don't cross. You understand? When it comes to order, you have to have order. You have to have things you just don't cross. Like I said, pillars that you just don't budge. But like I said, when you have a house, you bring in the furniture, you're going to put it where you so please. The house is there, the foundation is there. Now let's move in some furniture. That's why one of my favorite sayings, you know, quoting the Prophet Muhammad, he says, "Shall I tell you a thing that when you do it, will cause you to love one another?" It's one of my favorite things. Shall I tell you a thing that when you do it will cause you to love one another? Spread peace. This is amongst ourselves. You understand? How can you think that we're going to be able to nourish mercy and compassion with harsh, heavy-handed rhetoric towards one another, disputing and belittling and shaming and blaming? How do you get anything from that? How do you get anything good from that? I could, like I said, I may be missing a page or missing, a point, but um, from what I've learned and from what I've gathered throughout my life so far, and when I observed, uh, not just what I read out of books or things like that, or scholastically, but when I observe and measure out what I've observed, when I consider what I've observed in my life, um, real mercy goes a long way further. It goes a lot further and is more effective when it comes to your own people. You understand? I mean, just imagine. Imagine you were just a tyrant in your own home. How long you think that's going to last? Your family's going will end up hating you, not because you're not because you're a criminal, but because you were hard to them. You were harsh. You didn't show any mercy. You didn't show any compassion. Yeah, you have to have order. You have to have discipline, but you also have to have mercy in your family. That's where the love comes in. That's where the love comes in. That's where that comes in. Anyway, family, there I gave you a total of 3 hours now, right? It's now 1:32, 3 hours. And I wanted to, I came back on this live. And for those that may not know, my cat literally turned off my computer. She came in here crying. She's in heat and everything. And she stepped on the power switch. And so, then in my effort to power the computer back on, then it wants to update and go through all of its updates. I'm like, wow, what a convenient time. I said, perhaps I needed to take a break. Maybe that was the bottom line out of all that. Like I said, sometimes you got to look at things in a spiritual perspective and gain some types of some pointers, if you would. Um, so with that said, I'm going to conclude this live, and I appreciate all those who viewed earlier and here. And you have nothing but love and appreciation and respect from your brother. Um, and I definitely hope that you spread the love and whatnot through your own family, to your own family. We've got to be more demonstrative in our expression of love than we are with declaring it with words. We will say, "I love you, my brother. I love you, my sister," but we got to demonstrate it. This is what I want to ask real quick before I go out. When's the last time you've been to a nursing home and visited those who don't have no one visiting them? When's the last time you've visited some of the poor, sitting out there on the street? Not to have a huge table set up where everybody comes and sees you giving and distributing food, but when's the last time you just grabbed a bag from someplace, a nice meal, and sat and either ate with them or just dropped it off, let them consume it by themselves in their own peace of mind. You understand? Without being publicized or something like that. When's the last time you done any any when's the last time we have done righteous acts without expecting some form of acknowledgement or some form of um you know publicization or notice or whatnot, but genuinely for the cause of righteousness? We've got work to do. It's not impossible. These aren't impossible things. It's not impossible. And the thing about righteousness is it while it requires something from self, often the physical aspect isn't as what I want to say cumbersome or as strenuous as one might think. Um it's like this. I can recall when in some of my routines, some of my workouts, the more I did certain inner workouts like breathing exercises and stuff like that, the more certain forms like martial art forms or whatnot became um, easier for me to hold. Because in certain meditative martial art forms, you have to hold forms for some duration of time. Um, I'm not sure if I could do some. I've kind of fizzled out a little bit, but my point is that that allowed me to strengthen over time. You understand? In certain spiritual exercise, certain spiritual demonstrations have a similar effect. You understand? They work on the interior. You understand, and work its way out to the exterior. You understand? But here's the thing: the actions that you do, such as being charitable, such as being caring and giving to other people, and helpful to other people, and regardful for other people, these things are external things that work their way in. These are outside. That's why I say, we got to be more than just about talk, because our actions work their way into our heart, soften your hearts up. You understand? Uh, the more softer hearts we have, for our people. Understand what I'm talking about. We're not talking about being passive, being blind, being gullible. These are not the same thing as being compassionate. Understand, the supreme being is the most compassionate. These are one of the aspects or attributes that we acknowledge him by. The most merciful, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, most compassionate, most merciful. Some of the most oft used attributes, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, most compassionate, most merciful. But in no way is the supreme being cowardly or soft. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying that so you can realize that being merciful, being compassionate is not the same thing as being cowardly, being a pushover, being soft. You understand? Cross a brother and see what happens. I'm going to compassionately layeth the hand on thee, but with the objective of being merciful. You understand? Should I mean, we have to be that. This is an inside and an outside. Think about the shell of a turtle. The shell is meant to protect what's soft on the inside, but it's all a part of the turtle. It's not a separate body part. It's a part of his turtle. It's all a part of what the structure of a turtle is. Inside, he's got organs to be protected. Outside, he has the hard part. Mercy, compassion is like that. Pieces like that is double edged. It has a protected side and a soft side. Within the family needs to be the soft side. You understand? Outside of the family needs to be the hard protective side. You understand? Outside of the family. Yeah. The turtle show is the best example I had for the time being. Um, Boom. So yeah, I'm trying to conclude. So with that said, this is your brother Abdul Wadud, aka Questman. And this is yet another live midnight thought talk. This is the continue continued portion. Um and I want to simply say Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, shalom, hotep, peace be with you. You know, I just want to remind you that my effort is simply to keep it real, bring it from the heart. I'm not reading something. There's nothing for me to read it. Sometimes when I have some of these lives during the day hours, or the afternoon, I should say, there's script, there's things that I use for that particular occasion, that lesson. But often with the midnight thought talks, I like it to be just like it says, midnight thought talks. Here's what's on the mind at the moment. Um, but it's to connect with those who it can connect with. It's not for everybody, you know. Uh, but it is what it is. So have a good night rest or a good morning rising up, and seeking the bounty of the most wise in either way, either case. So I do intend to if you looked on the what you call it here, the upcoming lives. I do still have the live for uh going for building on When the World Was Black by Supreme Understanding. I moved that's moved to Saturday, inshallah, God so willing. And so I do intend to hold up to that. This was kind of a very busy day today. Um and really it's going to be busy tomorrow too, especially with as much time as I've taken with this live. But it is what it is. I feel uh, obligated. This is a duty um, that I've taken on for myself to get involved with the community, both actively outside of the lives and also with these lives to simply do my part as best as I know how. It may not be up to everyone's standards, and then it may not be in the method that some may perceive to be the method to do, but it's my best effort. It's my attempt to be to manifest my best effort based upon what I know. Um, and Allah knows best, as we say. God knows best. Salam alaikum, shalom, hotep, peace be with you. Until next time, you have a blessed rest of your time. Mhm.